Oh, snap. Hey, what's going on, my friends? Welcome to the channel. Brian the Divine Healer here with you. About to bring some awareness and some enlightenment to your life, okay? So let's get into some things here. You probably recognize in the title. Well, that's right. I'm going constitutional on your ass, all right? um, Being a Virgo Libra, I'm very much into the checking of the facts, right? So I'm going to bring this to you live right now. I was going to do a pre-recorded video, but I said, you know what? Let's bring this awareness to everybody so then they actually can jump in live instead of having me go through all the comments and everything. But check this out. Okay, so we all know that there's a situation with Donald Trump. Okay, and it's about the insurrection and all that other stuff, right? So I wanted to touch base on that because just some things just don't sit right with me. Okay, so I feel that there's a bias here, and we need to square some things away, right? So I dug in deep, right? Because I did go to school for criminal justice, right? Um, I awarded myself my degree because I made it all the way to the end, except for actually graduating because I had to do the internship, right? And so when I left the state, obviously I didn't finish. So yeah, I don't need the piece of paper to say that I'm qualified to read the law because my degree would be in criminal justice. So I did a lot of research on the Constitution. And we're going to get hot on this shit, okay? Because there's a lot of foul balls going on here, right? So it is definitely a hot topic, a very debated topic, right? And we have a lot of narcissists that want to implant their own meaning and own interpretation on things. And that is not how you read the law. I mean, I'm going to say this, even some of the Supreme Court justices use the play on words, okay? We use fancy words to kind of skirt around what the truth is because the truth is always in there with a little bit of that doubt and that mystery, right? So, check this out. I took a whole lot of notes and I got tired of writing. So, I took some screenshots, right? So, I'm going to get into that, okay? So, under the 14th Amendment, it says that a person cannot be voted, as a senator or a president, vice president, can't hold any office because they engaged in insurrection or rebellion. Okay. So let's break that down for a second. Okay. We all know what insurrection is, which is basically coming up against the United States government, right? But I might be wrong, but we do have a right to um, readiness to government for our grievances. We do. That's in the Constitution. Also, we have the right to assemble peacefully. That is also in the Constitution, right? So, to have the process of narcissism, using certain tones and words to make it all fancy to like really say that Trump instigated this insurrection is actually not true. It's really not. Okay. So I didn't go into his speech and get all of what what he said during his speech. I mean, I should have. I should have got the transcripts for it so then I could really break it down harder on the facts. But basically, he was publicly grieving the government, right? He wasn't inciting violence. He did not participate in violence. He was grieving to the government. And of course, if some of the senators were at the rally, they're part of the government. So, on a technicality, with the news media and everything, too, with those senators being there, Trump had a legitimate play in grieving the government. peacefully. Okay. So now there's a whole thing about immunity and all these other things, and it comes to the point where technically he was still the president until the transition and all this other stuff. So some people are saying that he was an officer in office, right? But the true fact is that the president is not an officer. He's not even in the military. Now, some presidents were military, so that would fit into that clause, but he's not. He's a civilian. His duty is to honor the Constitution and command the Army and the Navy and the militia. Interesting word right there with the word militia. Okay. So when they all broke it down and said that he incited this insurrection and everything, no. So now here comes the play on words, right? So when he said, "Let's march to the Capitol and grieve our grievances," basically in short, well, those people now were under their free will. Free will. Okay. So now we can break it down even further and to say that people will say that he aided and abetted, and he actually his terms were to incite this violence, right? So now let's look up the words aid and abet. Okay. Aid and abet says aid and abet means to assist someone in committing or to encourage someone to commit a crime. Generally, an aider and an abetter is criminally liable to the same extent as the person committing the crime. So let's break this down. So, in no terms of his speech did President Trump say, "Let's go burn the Capitol. Let's go destroy the White House. Let's go commit a crime." None of those words came out of his mouth. So the word march would fall under the peaceful protest because you're going to march over there to the Capitol and stand on there and bitch. That's his whole direction. And plus, some of his speech included the terms peaceful protest. Let's do this peacefully, civilly. This is what he's saying. So some of those words that are now being misconstrued and turned around to say that he was actually the aider or the abetter is completely false because he never encouraged a crime. But yet he, in turn, basically was grieving the government and encouraging, we'll say, the protesters for the Democrats, but really they were not protesters. Well, I guess you could say they were protesters because they were grieving the government as well. Why? Because there's a lot of things jacked up, right? So now we're going to get past that a little bit because the 14th Amendment does say that, we do have certain rights that cannot be infringed on, and that the clause of the insurrection, rebellion is cause for not having to be in office. So then you had the state of Colorado decide that they wanted to what? Pop out the idea that you can't be on the ballot? Well, aren't you just so freaking cleverly democratic put in your pocket, right? Right. There's a lot of information here, my friend, so I really don't want to get lost in this. Okay, so I'm going to just break it down. Okay, first of all, the Sixth Amendment gives you the right trial by jury, requires guilty verdict by jury beyond reasonable doubt. Beyond reasonable doubt. Okay. So for one, right then and there, the state of Colorado had erred on their decision to withdraw him from the ballot. Why? Because he was not awarded a trial by jury requiring a guilty verdict. No. So he was not charged with the insurrection. So there was no crime committed. It's under investigation by Congress. And that's who has the power. Under the 14th Amendment, Section 5 says that Congress has the ability and has established their powers to use their legislation to enforce their powers. So let's get into some scenarios here, right? Now, I've heard a lot of people say that there's no president that's ever been arrested before except for Trump. And this is a precedent. Well, y'all wrong. If you know your history, you understand that Ulysses S. Grant was indeed arrested. And what was he arrested for? For drunk driving. So now he was automatically in violation under this clause. So they were going to kick him out, whatever, all this other stuff. But the Supreme Court, I believe, gave him amnesty. Right. So now we're going to move to another scenario, another fact. Bill. That's right. You. Bill Clinton. Right. Sure. Fall under the same kind of category, right? Right. Impeached, right? Yeah. But here's the thing, how he got off the hook. He got off the hook because he made arrangements with the special prosecution to get him out of it, to alleviate his black stamp. Right. So we're going to keep going. The whole reason why Trump was rallying the people in a grievance with the United States government because he said there was fraud, an election fraud going on. And I believe that because, one, the states that were doing the polling allowed a third party to come in and man the poll stations. Wait a minute. Is that in your state clause to say that you are going to be able to hold this election ballot in your state for the voters to come in and vote, right? And man it yourself because you were the state with your statutes and legislation saying this is what you control. But now you're going to allow a third party to come in and control the situation. So basically you gave up your state rights to a third party who then interfered with the new system and the things that they did and whatever. Okay. Well, we're going to go with another historical case study. Bush versus Gore, 2000. Boom. Let's bring it. Okay. Al Gore said, hey, I was robbed in this election. Just like Trump right now. Right? Right. So what happened? Well, they decided that we need a recount. Who's they? The Supreme Court. Because immediately Justice Scalia said we're going to stay this. That means stay means we're not going to do the recount until we look at all the facts. Because why? Under, I think, section Article 3, that the Supreme Court now has a jurisdiction. And that's where it all lies, in the jurisdiction. Okay? So Colorado, you did not enforce your state laws correctly by saying, oh, you were convicted of a crime. So now, boom, guess what? You're not eligible to be on the ballot, which was a premature misunderstanding of the jurisdiction. So then immediately, when the Supreme Court said, we will hear Donald Trump's case, that's putting the stay, Colorado reversed its decision, saying we'll allow Trump to be on the ballot. And now Maine's following suit, and all these other states that just bend to the will are following suit. Okay. So now we're supposed to be finding out the results of that. And I bet you Colorado has no jurisdiction in this because they, like I said, prematurely uh, try to bend the will of the people, right? So let me get the scenario out here, right? So if the Supreme Court says that Colorado is in good standing and they can not allow Trump to be on the ballot, where is the proof of why? There's no conviction. There's no, I mean, there's an arrest, but that's not a conviction. People get arrested all day long, but we're entitled to that Sixth Amendment, fair trial, with the clause saying beyond reasonable doubt. Now we have presumption and we have all these other semantics that we like to engage in to deny the fact of what the real Constitution says, what it says. So now we got to make these amendments and these laws to bend the will of what is entitled to our God-given right, which is that Constitution, right? So good luck with all that. Anyways, but my point is, if it is denied and Trump cannot be on the ballot, I'm not voting for Biden. So now I feel that I need to take suit up against the state of Colorado for infringing on my rights to vote because they're using the semantics and they want to play this shit out like this. I don't live in Colorado, but if I did, it'd be an infringing on my rights. But I think the Coloradians should look at this and say, whoa, I want to vote for this person. And because you want to use your power to what? Not let Trump be the president because what, Colorado? You might be a little Slim Shady on some shit. I lived in Colorado. Not some places are that great. Look at the Denver airport. What's that all about? Right? What the hell is that all about? Nonetheless, let's go back to Bush and Gore. So there was a stay from the Supreme Court till we figured everything out. Now, once they figured it out, here's the trickery. This is where the trickery comes in. There was specified criteria that only allowed several major counties to do the recount. That's not how you do it. If you're going to count that election in that state all over, you do not get to pick and choose which votes get to be counted. True or false? True. So, because of this specified criteria to allow only several certain large counties in Florida to do the recount. Why? Oh, because if we did the whole state, it would take too long and that's just too hard. I know you guys over there are working your asses off. I do. Recounting in the middle of the night for days on end. I understand that's a pain in the ass, but you know what? You denied the process of a fair election by this Supreme Court decision to only allow critical specified several large counties to do the recount, which gave Bush the win. But if they did a statewide recount, the circumstances would be different. And definitely Al Gore would have been president. That's right. So now we're dealing with more semantics. but of the Supreme Court level. You cannot have a justice of the peace on the Supreme Court deciding that they want to use their doctoral degrees in wordology to manipulate the actual fact of the Constitution, because the facts are the facts and the rights are the rights. It's in plain texts. And plus, there's been so many other cases, like I stated, Ulysses S. Grant, um, Bill Clinton, and the list goes on and on to say that this insurrection can be changed, because it has. Right. So, I'm going to read you this. In modern times, the court has continued the minor role according to the clause. I'll get into that in a minute. Only occasionally manifesting a deposition to enlarge the restraint that is imposed upon a state action. Colorado. In Hague versus CIO, I think. Yeah. 2 and perhaps 3 justices thought that the freedom to use municipal streets and parks for the dissemination of information concerning provisions of the federal statute and to assemble peacefully therein for discussion of the advantages and opportunities offered by such act was a privilege and an immunity of the United States citizen, of a citizen. And in California versus Edwards, 4 justices were prepared to rely on the clause. And then what? In many respects, however, claims based on this cause have been rejected. So that means they pick and choose who fits where and what fits what. Keep going. Okay. Slaughterhouse case expressed a reluctance to emanate those privileges and immunities of the United States citizens that are protected against state encroachment. It nevertheless felt obligated to suggest some. Among those that identified were the rights of access to the seat of government and to the seaports, the sub-treasuries, land, officers, and courts of justice in the several states. The right to demand protection under the federal government of the high seas and abroad. The rights to assemble, the privilege of habeas corpus, the right to use the navigable waters of the United States, and the rights secured by treaty. In Twining versus New Jersey, the court recognized among the rights and privileges of natural citizenship, the right to pass freely from state to state, the right to petition Congress for redress of grievances, the right to vote for national officers, the right to enter public lands, and the right to be protected against violence in the lawful custody of the United States Marshals, and the right to inform the United States authorities of violations of its laws. So that's what Trump was doing. He was informing the United States authorities of violation of its laws because there were senators, congresspeople at that rally. I'm telling you, people, this is trickery at its finest. Because there was no crime committed on president's behalf. Amendment 12, Section 1 under the 14th Amendment says no person shall be elected to the office of president more than twice. And no person who has held the office of president or acted as president for more than 2 years of a term to which some other person was elected, the president shall be elected to the office of the president more than once. There was only a few presidents that extended their terms. But this article shall not apply to any person holding the office of president when this article was proposed by Congress, and shall not prevent any person who may be holding the office of president or acting as president during the term within which this article became operative from holding the office of president or acting as president during such remaining term. Bevan's action. What does that mean? Bevan's action generally refers to a lawsuit for damages when a federal officer who is acting in color of federal authority allegedly violates the U.S. Constitution by federal officers acting. Burden of proof. We have the right to peacefully assemble. We have the right to grieve our grievances. That's all that what took place. There was no words to say, get them, boys. Do it, boys. Because you know why? Now we're under free will. So those people that actually stormed the White House, they were under their own free will. Because the words peacefully protest, those were words used by Trump. I think he even went on Twitter and was saying some shit too. Right? Right. So, you can't bend the rules in favor of what you think is right when it goes against the Constitution. The word march is not criminal. We want to talk about an insurrection? Look at what Martin Luther King did. He rallied millions of people, was talking mad shit about the government. Where was the insurrection with that? Oh, the penalty was his death. Because it was going against the narcissists that were controlling the country. That's correct, my friends. So now, if we're going to talk about the insurrection, anybody that grieves the government is an insurrectionist. Let's look at Rage Against the Machine. The words, take the power back. What? That's inciting violence, isn't it? Shut your hell up, congressmen. You guys are gone anyway. Congress has the ability to step in and do this. But some that are being stepped on by the Democrats, who I'm going to get to them in a minute, have certain power, have certain pull. Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, you guys are pathetic. I mean, valiant in your effort of deception, but terminally ill under the guise of weakness. Right? How fat are your pockets, right? How fat are your pockets? Let me rephrase this. The United States Congress works for us. Us. We the people, right? So if Chuck Schumer's going to get up there and decide he wants some shit to happen, well, did you vote on it? Did you go and ask your constituents what they think? Did you take a freaking survey? No. You come up on this shit on your own. And then because you're the leader of the Democrats, you think you're going to push some shit, Senator? Let me ask you this. The impeachment trial of Donald Trump through the House, sure, it got pushed through. But guess what? Who has the ultimate right to convict and charge? The Senate. You cannot base someone's life off of a charge, off of a situation, a manifested story, without having the complete facts, Colorado? So the Senate has that right to only convict for the impeachment. But was he? No, because there was no burden of proof. There was no reasonable doubt. That's why it didn't fly. So Colorado, what are you even thinking? Don't you even read the Constitution? Don't you even know the laws? There's no conviction. So just because the word impeachment is there, that means that's a crime? No, because it wasn't convicted of it. It's just a charge. Shut up. Let's keep going. Now we're going to get into something very tricky. Okay, so the aid and abet didn't work. There was actually no criminal words to incite this. Trump didn't say, get your guns and get your bombs and shit, boys, and let's go storm the White House. None of that shit took place. Peaceful protest, because that is our right. And the word march is not violent. Because in the military, we march. People that have protested, look at the 1,000,000-man march. Huh? Oh, let's get into Black Lives Matter, right? Black Lives Matter. Where's your insurrection charges for them? Because they incited violence. They stirred the crowd with the words of violence. They committed violence. Where are the charges for Black Lives Matter? The whole crew, every last one of them. Like, you took your little cameras and you identified everybody on the insurrection, and then you went after everybody and you arrested them and you charged them for insurrection. Where are you doing that for Black Lives Matters? You're not. So that's how this shit is foul, unfair, and definitely one-sided. Let's get into this. Based on Title 18 USC 1940 Ed 51, March 9th, 1909, Chapter 321, Section 1935, Stat 1092, Clause making conspirator ineligible to hold office was omitted as incongruous because it attaches ineligibility to hold office to a person who may be a private citizen and who was convicted of conspiracy to violate a specific statute. So you can't even use the word conspirator because that was omitted. So it doesn't even fit in the clause anymore. There seems to be no reason for imposing such a penalty in the case of one individual crime, conspirator, in view of the fact that other crimes do not carry such a severe consequence. The experience of the Department of Justice, the DOJ, who's actually the ones to trying to get Trump, is that this is unusual penalties has been a obstacle to successfully prosecute for violation of the act. So, DOJ, if you know that this shit ain't gonna fly, why are you digging? Conspirator, it don't fly. There's no inciting violence. Inciting means telling somebody to go commit a crime. Aiding and abetting don't even fit because there was no crime committed. He was peacefully protesting his grievances for the false election that took place, just like Bush and Gore in 2000. History repeats itself all the time, my friends. And we cannot have certain individuals in high places with their hand in their pocket ruling the law of the land and favoring one group more than the other. Because if you're going to bring up Trump in the whole rally, what does a rally mean? Come on. Then you need to do the same for other groups. Like the Democratic group. During the Civil War, the whole Confederate side was insurrectionists. But do you think some of those people were elected to office? Fuck yeah, they were, bitch, because it was amnesty and all these other things given to these people, but not others. That's insane. Okay, like I said, the President of the United States is the commander-in-chief, but he's a civilian, to honor the Constitution and command the Army and Navy and the militia. Ooh, militia. The Army's not a militia. The Navy's not a militia. The Marines are not a militia. Where's our militia? Congress. Where's our militia? Congress. Because Congress works for us. We, the people, we put you in that place. You're not doing your job. We even have a militia ready to go to fight what? The government against their powers. That's an insurrection in itself, isn't it? I can't. Stop with your semantics. The 14th Amendment, Section 5, Congress shall have the power to enforce by appropriate legislation the provisions of this article, and the article is of the 14th Amendment, Section 1. After the Civil War, Congress, in addition to proposing to the states the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, enabled states designed in variety of ways to implement the provisions of the amendments, which these states deemed unconstitutional by the Supreme Court. See, there we go again with the Supreme Court bending the rules to change the outcome of things. Corrupt officials, bad judges, seriously. But then they go and renege on their decision. Beginning with the Civil Rights Act of 1957, Congress general acted pursuant to its powers under the Commerce Clause. So Congress used the Commerce Clause to enforce these statutes, to enforce the amendments, 13, 14, 15. But the states deemed those statutes unconstitutional, according to the Supreme Court, which those statutes were just ways to enforce to the states the amendments, because the states didn't know what to do. Oh, I don't know what to do. The 14th Amendment only protects you about being a slave. No, it does not. It's deeper than that. So then your ignorance of the Constitution, Congress had to step in and say, well, we're going to really sideline this for you. So then we're going to put in a couple of statutes so you understand how to enforce this 14th Amendment, because you're retarded. You don't understand how to do it. I'm not capping on anybody that's mentally challenged, because my brother was retarded. So I have that right to say that. So shut up. Okay, so Congress, they acted to its power under the Commerce Clause until the Supreme Court decisions indicate an expansive concept of congressional powers under the Civil War Amendments. No Civil War Amendments, like I told you, which is the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments of the Constitution. So now they had to look at the situation because the states deemed it unconstitutional. But the Supreme Court had to look at it and say, well, not so much. So maybe these are the ways that you need to enforce these amendments. I think we made that pretty clear, my friends. Pretty clear. So these people that are trying all this malarkey, they need to be charged for obstruction of justice. Ooh, right. State of Colorado, obstruction of justice. Maine, obstruction of justice. Now you should be sued for violating the people's rights to vote because you decide you don't want Trump on the ballot because why? He was an insurrectionist when there's no fucking proof. And you're trying to make something fit that don't fit. You cannot put a square peg in a round hole. Thank you. Appreciate the like. And I don't even know who's in here, but I appreciate that. It's my ghost friend. Thank you. Appreciate that. But you know what I mean? Like, how can you decide you want to change the rules when the rules aren't even applied by the law? There's no charge of this. But you're going to go ahead and decide you want to look like an idiot when you had to retract your statement and change the rules because now the Supreme Court stepped in, which has jurisdiction over the states in this case. So then other stupid states want to jump in. Here's the problem. You cannot have a constitution federally and statewide. It's got to be one friggin' constitution. This is where the confusion comes in. This is where all the semantics happen. And this is when people that think they're in legitimate power are absolutely ignorant. One constitution for everybody. One law for everybody. Because I know that if any state you go in, you blow a stop sign, that's against the law. You run a red light, that's against the law. You drink and drive, that's against the law. So why is it different for the freaking Constitution? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Everybody, if you want to vote, you have that right to vote. We're not going to make it convenient for you and pad you. Get off your ass and go vote. If you don't vote, then you decided on yourself to negate that fact. We're not going to accommodate you to sit on your fat ass at home and stuff your mouth with a whole bunch of shit wanting your mail-in ballot because you're too lazy to exercise your right to go stand in line like everybody else. Misfit. I can't even deal with that. You want to cry that you want to have rights, but then you don't want to engage these rights because they're inconvenient to your schedule. Granted, I understand people are working. They can't get the time off to vote, all these other things, right? But then that's when the state needs to step in and say, we're going to extend the times of voting. Okay, so the pollers are like, oh, I got to sit here another 5 hours and wait for Joe Schmo to come in at 10 o'clock to fucking vote. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Because that's our right. So you do what we say, not we do what you say. Limited hours on the polls. What? Are you kidding me? No, it's not how it works. And if it's too overwhelming in one place, then open more stations to vote, more places, right? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And we can't have all these different ways of voting, man. This is what draws everything to be so messed up. We have electronic, we have the punch ballots, and then you got the mail-in ballots, and some prisoners can vote because they're under this clause and all these other stupid things. They get the mail-in votes, and what? I don't even know. It's a circus. It's a sham. And Trump was right. It's a friggin' sham. And I refer back to Bush Gore 2000, a big sham. When Supreme Court enacted a stay halting the recount, so then what? They can figure out what they're going to do and decide critically to specifically only allow several counties to be counted in the recount, not the whole fucking state. Because if the whole fucking state decided they wanted to do the recount, guess who would have won? Al Gore. And that's proven in the history book. So shut up. I did my facts because I have tons of it here. So we can't accommodate those weak-minded people that don't want to do their jobs. Right. right? I mean, I can get into it deeper with some other congressional people, like the Dream Team with the Green New Deal and all these other things, right? Um, Spewing venom off of their mouth the way that they have. Are they not going against the people, the government, right? Those not insurrectionists inciting some kind of violence. Why are we looking at those people? But definitely, if you're going to charge Donald Trump for insurrection, then you better fucking charge all Black Lives Matter on the semantics and the play of words, because I gave you the definitions of Bevan's actions and aid and abetting and conspirator. You can't even get him on conspiracy because it's been withdrawn from the books. No, it don't work that way in this case. Okay? Because there was no crime committed. So, let's look at the real insurrectionist. Let's look at the real treasonous person. You remember the withdrawal from Afghanistan? Yeah, it was a pretty devastating situation. And it was devastating to the 14 service members that lost their lives in Afghanistan because this president wanted to withdraw from Afghanistan and look like a fucking hero. He ended the war, right? You didn't. You know why? Because you left our people behind. Just like you're doing in Israel. You're leaving American citizens abroad. And the Constitution clearly says that you, as the government, you need to offer protection overseas and abroad to United States citizens because that is our right. And if you didn't, under the Constitution, that is deemed treason. So to play on words to say march to the White House is inciting violence and a criminal act, which is just a semantic, dude. I march around my house all the time. I'm not committing any violence on myself. Stupid. But the facts did say that you did leave out 14 Americans in Afghanistan to die because you didn't want to go get them, which was a violation of their constitutional right for the federal government to protect them abroad, just like you're doing in Israel when the United States was at the United Nations and declined the vote to rescue the hostages. Let's get into it a little bit more. How about the funding of Iran? You gave billions of dollars to Iran, right? Right, you did. So now Hamas is invading Israel, right? Yeah, they are. And how do you think they got all them fancy rocket launchers and shit, right? To bomb the fucking the dome with the money from Iran. That's another treasonous act. It's all written in the Constitution, my friend. So we want to play constitutional games? Well, you can keep your semantics, but I'm going to go off the facts. So I hope Congress enacts their power to impeach this president on treason for those facts alone, just of Afghanistan, and now denying the freedom of the hostages of American people that are protected under the Constitution abroad, overseas. I'm sick with this. It's a sham. It's a scam. Oh, how about all the money that you're taking for bribes from China? You're using the semantics and trying to use your constitutional lawyers, just like the Supreme Court, to bend the wordology Because that's why you guys go to get a degree, is to manipulate the words so you think that the dumb American people won't understand. But see, you got people like me and others that see through the semantics like that, and we read word for word what the truth is, because the words are the truth. And if the word march is a crime, then shit, everybody that said that word is an insurrectionist. See what I mean? So it's all a deflection to avoid the consequences of what this establishment currently has done, which has left those 14 Americans and left the hostages in Israel, Afghanistan. I can get into crimes against humanity too. It doesn't have to be a murderous act. The Constitution clearly says what that means, and it is something else. Well, the law terms of that is pretty egregious. So, my friends, don't be fooled. Don't be fooled, because they are definitely trying to fool everybody. Unreal with this. So anybody that is trying to do the truth and the right idea of things, they're automatically a criminal. Like I said, you better go get Rage Against the Machine, because why? They're insurrectionists. Got to fight the power, bring the power back. Public Enemy, same thing. All their words are against the government. But guess what? It's just a public forum, which is a kind of a peaceful protest on this certain platform, to word their grievances to the government, but just in an artistic way. So you're going to bend the rules and say, because Public Enemy said, fight the power, they're insurrectionists. Shut the fuck up. We need some serious changes here, people, because it's violently grotesque. So I hope to see in the news that y'all took your little photos and your little chat GPTs and shit, and you tracked down every motherfucking Black Lives Matter people, because I'm not racist, but what's one good... What's good for one is good for all. You cannot change the rules depending on who is being looked at. Unbelievable, my friends. Sorry, that's my daughter. Yeah. So think about that, my friends. Dig out in history. We have those rights, and they are alienating us from our rights. Oh, last thing. Another treasonous act against the Constitution for violating the rights of this administration, who had deported, or other administrations with the immigration. Let's get into this real quick. Like I said, the 14th Amendment guarantees citizenship if you're born here or you're naturalized, right? Right. So how about when you have those migrants come over and they hide out in the United States, which they tally all this, and I'm like, how do you know the numbers if they're hidden and you can't find these people? Because they can't go to court, right, for their trial. I mean, for their, citizenship and all that other stuff, whatever, amnesty, all this other stuff, right? Nah. You'll give, okay. I'm gonna get into that for a second with the amnesty, but check this out, right? Those immigrants that came to the United States and bore children, and the children were born in the United States hospital, has a birth certificate, they're deported and now gone, right? Those administrations that had done that, well, guess what? You had violated the constitutional rights of that child, because they were born in the United States, and under the 14th Amendment, Section 1 says they are entitled to the same rights as you and I, because they were born here. You're fired. Let's talk about the amnesty now. You want to give amnesty to illegal immigrants. Amnesty to the illegal immigrants for what? For their country abusing them? I mean, I feel the compassion in that. But you're giving people that are not of this country, according to the 14th Amendment, born or naturalized in this country, the rights of that entitlement to people who weren't even here, of another country. You give them amnesty. So you give them the rights of an American citizen when they're not. And you're going against the Constitution, which now affords those rights to the people that were born here. But the people that were born here under those rights, you are not giving them amnesty. You're not affording them the constitutional rights they deserve because they were born here. You're going to give it to other people that don't qualify for it. Where do you buy that at? Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi and all these other people. Those are the people that need to be impeached. Those are the people that need to be arrested. Those are the people that need to be convicted on these crimes, because all that work is all unconstitutional. Obama, you too. Well, I think the DREAM Act was okay. He was trying to really do that. So I'll give you credit on that one. I will. But other shit, you're a criminal. Seriously. I don't care who you are. The facts are the facts. It's freezing cold out, my friends. We had a little bit of rain last night. Ice cold, ice cold. So I hope you're doing okay wherever you're at, because this weather is crazy and the world we live in is crazy. And we need people's voices to inform other people that read between these lines, to bring the truth of what shit is for real, man. Because you know why? We're not going to have a country anymore. And I'm not going to stand for that. I'm not. And I'm not going to bend to anybody's will, except for one person. That's God Almighty. And if we have constitutional powers as a gift from God, you're damn right I'm going to stand on that 10 toes down, bitch. So pull your head out of your asses and do the right thing. Because all of you elected officials were what? Elected by who? Right. So enjoy that, my friends. I'm glad I spent a little bit of time with you. A nice hour of discussion of the truth and the facts of what the shit is for real. And you got to read between these lines, because it's not up to certain people to use the rules. It is up to other people to use the rules. Like the Supreme Court, sure, they have to dispute the grievances, right? But they cannot make the rule to override what is a given right to others, like Congress. Free taxes don't work just because you wear a black robe and you studied all your life this constitutional law. Well, you're not reading it exactly word for word. You're going to use your wordology there to use the semantics to make it look professional, to make it look like you know what you're talking about, but you're really changing the rules. That's why you've backtracked on so many different fucking laws, right? So many cases, right? I read the case studies. I know. That's what I went to school for. Anyway, be well, my friends. Oh, by the way, one of my teachers, one of my professors, which I had to go to school at night because I was out of the military. I had 4 kids plus a wife. That's 6 people running the show. Me going to school for 3 hours. You know who my my professor was for my procedural law class for my criminal justice degree. He was my state county's Supreme Court judge. Oh, Superior Court. I'm sorry. Superior Court judge. Huh. Now you can't get any better than that, can you? For education and understanding the facts. Because he was doing it better than any book that I say. Nonetheless, my friends, just want to hit you up with that. Oh, guess what? I will be doing tarot today because guess what? I took some time off because I was kind of mad at the postman. I didn't get my new tarot decks. But guess what? They're here. 3 decks. And I'm going to be using a couple of them. They're really awesome. I really love. I mean, look at the graphics. Look at that. Oh, was that the Knight of Swords? Looks like somebody was taking some aggressive action verbally. I hear you. Yeah. So I'm going to be doing, I think it's going to be Taurus Gemini. Yeah, Taurus Gemini, Gemini Cancer. Maybe I'll be able to hit up the Virgo Libra. I don't know yet. But, I'm going to go get some more coffee. Let my dog go out and do her business. And I'm going to freeze my ball off. Be blessed, be brave, and be well, my friends. Always live in your truth. Don't live in somebody else's sham. Okay? And don't let anybody convince you that what is true is not. Because that's how we're all going to hell in a handbasket real fast. Okay? Peace and prayer every day, my friends. Be blessed, be brave, and be well. And I will see you again. Have a good one, my friends.